All right. Hello, Chris and Jamie.
What's going on, Danny?
Hello.
No, not much. Thanks for joining me on the Flipping Junkie podcast. This is awesome.
Yeah, our pleasure. You're our podcast debut. I don't know why we've never been on a podcast, but we're actually happy it's you because you were kind of
Awesome.
You're a little bit of a part of our story.
Yeah, when we first started. We started listening to, I guess it was your blog back then.
Yeah, reading your blog, and then your podcast came afterwards. So yeah,
Great. Well, I'm glad that you guys chose to be on this one for the first one. You've got an amazing story, so I imagine after this you'll have requests to be on several other podcasts. And you guys have done an amazing job doing over 100 flips, right?
Yeah.
And then raising, I figured I would mess it up and say $100 million in private money.
Wouldn't that be
How
nice?
much have you raised in private money?
11.2 million.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's
Still,
a couple weeks old, so it's actually a little bit more than that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I definitely want to dig into that. But let's start with y'all's story, with how you guys got interested in house flipping and real estate investing, and just share everything, how you gotten started and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. It's two-part. Starting off, I got started in college, went to Texas A&M University.
Whoop.
And I just saw, this is back in 2005. I saw one of those, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and like a lot of investors, it's kind of where their journey starts. And I read that book and I'm like, man, I'm going to be rich. And my grandpa, he owned a lot of rental properties, so I subliminally absorbed that over the years. But after reading that book, I remember seeing a sign. It was a bandit sign. Basically said real estate mentor or a real estate millionaire looking for a mentor. I was very naive at the time. I kind of jokingly say, I called him, and he was a local guru actually in San Antonio at the time. And I was in College Station, and I took his.
I bet I know who this is. Yeah.
You might. I don't even know if he's doing it anymore, but I took his weekend course, had no money, put on my credit card, and I'll jokingly say that I was naive and dumb enough to not know anything, so I just did everything he said, and it worked. It was knocking on doors for pre-foreclosures, probably the most intimidating way you could get started. So that's what I did in college. I'd drive to San Antonio on the weekends, knocking on doors, and we bought I bought 4 houses that year, and then I'll let Jamie continue on the story where we both got started together.
Yeah, that's not where I came into play. I was not flipping houses in college. I was totally not doing that. But yeah, so that's his story. So my story, or our story, how we got in together, was we got married in 2011. And I would say I was extremely reluctant because in this business. So I was actually a middle school teacher, and I wanted to start studying to become a high school principal. I wanted to be in a leadership role and lead, a high school and faculty. But so we got married in June 2011, and I always tell this story because it's really funny. Chris, he locked me in. He waited to lock me in. That's what I tell everybody. And he just sprung this up on me. He said, hey, I want to flip some houses. I want to start a real estate business. And I was just like, okay. And anyway, long story short, I was very, very reluctant. And I said, okay, we can flip houses, but I just have one condition, and I just don't want to lose the house we live in now. So we haven't. And and it's been going really well. And I am not a high school principal. I'm not leading a school. I am leading or co-leading a business, a company now. So God had a different plan for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
it's fun.
Yeah. So you guys are having a lot of fun, and you got a smile on your face when you're saying it. So I feel you definitely do enjoy the house flipping and don't miss the chance to be a principal. Or do you think you might do that in the future?
No, I do not want to go back to teaching. Maybe Sunday school or something in the church, but not public school for sure.
So what was the hesitation with the business? Was it because that it wasn't a steady paycheck and there was a chance to lose money and just have that sort of risk involved in your lives?
Yes. For me, yes, I'm not a risk taker or a thrill seeker. I'm very, I would say, I guess, pensive. I really think things through before I act on it. And that is totally opposite of this entrepreneur. And so, I mean, we kind of balance each other out, because even to this day, I'll be like, no, let's just see how this goes first before we start something new. Or otherwise, I think we might have lost a lot more money. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And we still, it's not like we both quit our jobs. I still had a full-time job. She still was teaching. So we did it part-time to a point, and to where it made sense.
Yeah. And I really needed a proof of concept too. So our goal was because we wanted to start having a family. And so I wanted to always stay home with them. And so we were trying to kind of build a rental portfolio so we could have that replace my income. And it kind of did partially, and I was able to quit and stay home. And then in 2015, so I quit in 2013, and Chris still had his full-time sales job. And in 2015, in August, he quit because we use this strategy, the slow flip strategy, we call it, where we sold one of our rentals. We let it appreciate in value after a few years of putting a tenant in, and then made a huge profit there and just reinvested all that into our company.
Oh, that's awesome. So you guys were part-time then for 3 to 4 years roughly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
One before the other went full-time. And
Yes.
that's similar to Melissa and my story. And so we probably had the same thing, where we wanted to make sure, that we had it down, like we could do it and we could be consistent enough to where it wouldn't be, a real big risk.
Yeah.
And it even took for us to feel like we were actually losing money because we were working those jobs. Did you guys feel the same way?
Where you thought you were losing money, or?
Oh yeah, because you were busy with that job.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost.
Okay. So it was a crossroads for us. I mean, I did a sales job. I was fortunate to be able to work from home. So we were able to do what was like almost 20 deals even while having a full-time job, which, I mean, that's a lot. And we were doing flips.
Right.
And
I was managing him.
Yeah. So she was able to help a lot. And then of course, being able to work from home, that helped out too. But yeah, it did come, there was a crossroad of, you can only be really good at one thing. And right then I was okay at both, but both were actually suffering because they didn't have my full attention. And from the job standpoint, it was a 100% commission sales job. So, I mean, I did feel a little bit guilty that I'm obviously not able to do what I know they would really like me to do. So, at that point, we made the decision. We had a successful exit with one of our rentals, and we were going to redeploy that. So, went ahead and resigned from the W-2 job and went full-time self-employment.
Wow. So how did that feel when you finally did it?
It felt great.
We made it a whole family outing. I mean, I took my son, he was 2, and we took the box of his, I guess, computer equipment, and I have it documented. I mean, I took pictures. I'm like, yay, Daddy's going to go quit his job. And so we documented it all, and I have pictures, and
that's awesome.
That's just a memory, because that was just a turning point in our company and in our lives. So it felt really good. I was really confident in it, and I think it was because, we sold that one property and had that big chunk of cash that we just reinvested.
Yeah, that's cool that you guys celebrated that and made a big deal out of it. I had a Hawaiian shirt that I was waiting to wear for when whenever we went full time. So that was because that's what my dad wore when he was, flipping. He was always wearing this Hawaiian shirt, and I was like, I've got to be full time before I can actually wear the Hawaiian shirt. So I had a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, you made it a goal for yourself. That's cool.
Yeah, so,
hilarious.
And I may have forgotten to actually wear it when I went full time, but I don't know. It's still in my closet, and I think I've worn it once or twice. It just feels weird wearing it.
I've heard other investors have cool
today.
stories on how they quit, and sometimes it makes me want to go get another job so I can quit again. But yeah,
it's just a cool feeling to be able to do that and then follow through with it the years after. because that he quit in August of 2015. So, and we were able from August to December do 11 deals just in that time frame. So we just hit the ground running, really. And it was just us two at the time. So, and I still had no idea what I was doing. I was just, doing whatever needed to be done. So
yeah, that's
answering phones, things like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening can relate to that. That's what it feels like at first. You're just taking care of everything and don't have time to really think about the organization of all of it. So what was the breakdown of responsibilities for you two, though? Who was doing what when you guys went full time?
I was acquisitions and sales, marketing, finance. Jamie did project management.
I did, project management, lead intake. I answered the phones. You kind of have to pick your strengths. Like, I'm a people person, although I won't knock on somebody's door. I'm not that I'm not a salesperson. I always tell people like I was the getaway driver, because Chris would go, when we first started, he would knock on doors, and I would be in the truck, and people would get mad and yell at him, and I'd be like, hurry, get in the car, and drive off. I would never go to the door. So
you're the getaway driver. That's
yes, I was the getaway driver. But Chris isn't afraid of no, and that's really great in a salesman. And me, I like building rapport with people, and I feel like I'm really good at that. And we do that with answering phones. Sorry, we lost you there on there. Okay. Is it working? Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's still going.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the computer put a timeout. But
anyway, so sorry. I was I would answer calls, build rapport with the sellers, and I would also go and check on the properties during the rehab. And with my toddler, I would strap him in the stroller with the iPad, and I would go in and check. I loved that. I used to design everything myself. Now we do so many deals that it was not efficient to go run to Home Depot. And luckily in Houston, we have this awesome turnkey contractor that all we have to do now is pick beige or gray color scheme, and they do the rest. So
we got some good memories of that hustle and bustle too. It was fun for a very short amount of time. He enjoyed it more than I did. But it was cool because our son, he was 1 or 2 at the time, but he remembered the neighborhoods we flipped houses in, because we'd just go driving, not necessarily to a flip house, and be like, are we going to the flip house? Are we going to the flip house? So he'd remember that. He probably still does. At least some neighborhoods. So
I did that up until our second kid. I was pregnant and going to these properties and managing them. And luckily we put him in a little Mother's Day Out program. So it just got to be where obviously I couldn't take 2 kids to these properties. And so I actually hired my awesome dad, and he became our project manager and gave us a nice fee, little fee. He was really sweet and helped us out. So he started managing those projects. I think that's where I get it from is my dad, because Chris, he needs help hanging a picture frame sometimes. We're not very handy.
Melissa says the same thing about me. Melissa's always, but I think that's a good thing though, because I wasn't interested in getting in there and doing the work on the houses.
There's pros, cons.
So did you find that because you were working with the contractors, Jamie, at first, right? Did you ever have any issues? Did you ever feel like there were any kind of problems with working with contractors that you came across?
Oh yeah. My big problem was I trusted what they said and I didn't really, get references. I remember one guy, I don't even know how we found him. How did we come across this guy? The one that said he could do everything.
Was that the first one, Mesquite?
No, I think it was Lee Street.
Oh yeah, they were referral from someone else, but of course we never checked their referrals, and it turns out the guy who referred it has never even used it. He just heard about it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this guy went in, and we like to be in and out as fast as we can. Obviously, we have all that interest to pay and stuff. So this guy, he came in, and I think in the first week he still hadn't cleared out the house.
Oh wow.
And he was working on the floor, And I'm like, well, how can you do this when the house isn't even demoed or cleared out? It's just.
And our project manager at the time was actually the hard money lender. So they sent their project manager out to make sure that their draws are going to, good use.
Yeah.
And
he called me.
Yeah, he chewed me out.
Yeah.
But it was a
learning experience.
Good learning experience.
Yeah.
But we also knew he chewed the other guy out too.
Right.
So
and it turns out like a subcontractor from that deal, he said, I can do a better job than this. He didn't lay this tile right, which he didn't. It wasn't even aligned. And I noticed that right off the bat. So a subcontractor finished the job. So did you handle reprimanding the contractor, the first one, and firing him? Or was that how did we do that? Did we? Because I don't do the firing, by the way. That's Chris.
Yeah, it was quickly addressed. But once we had the sub who was doing siding for us, he came in and he goes, "Hey, look at this tile." Like, he didn't put spacers in it. And this is it was for tile surround for a bathtub. Yeah. And he didn't put spacers in, and it was obviously crooked for plenty of reasons why. It was just bad job. So he told us, like, this is all going to fall off.
Yeah. I think we had him see, like, the contractor, we showed him this, and he's like, yeah, I can't finish it. And so he kind of phased out on his own once we showed, like, this is why, and then later on he asked us to do another one, which maybe, since then we've learned how to manage too. Okay. Like, that was one of the first projects we managed together. Whenever you own your own company, you have to learn how to manage and lead. So we have.
That's the second big project. So the first project, we used a contractor who we're pretty sure towards the end he was living in the house.
Yeah, he was going through a divorce, and
I'm sorry. I shouldn't know about that,
he installed the garage door backwards, and then he asked why I didn't pay him for it. I'm like, you didn't do the work.
Yeah.
So this was our second big project. So you're earning or learning. Thankfully, we did both on those situations, but there was definitely a lot of learning.
Right.
So what did you guys do to help minimize that kind of thing going forward?
Get actual referrals from before they start.
Right.
So not only get a referral from another investor, but have you used them? What projects have you used them on? And then get the actual contractors referrals too.
Right. And we also, before using this turnkey awesome contractors that we use now, I noticed that a contractor that I would find, he was only good for maybe 2, maybe 3 houses before he started getting sloppy. And I saw that within a lot of them that we would hire. And I don't understand why. I mean, now after being in a mastermind, I'll, in retrospect, I'm sure I could have managed that better and given them more incentives to do the job nice. But so we were kind of going through contractors left and right, and until we found this turnkey that was always there, mind you. This turnkey contractor was always here, but we thought, no, they're too expensive. They cost more. But in the end, I mean, we had to pay more to fix this bad contractor's job, so it kind of was like a wash, I guess you could
plus
say.
the management cost to it.
Yes. Frustration. And with all the properties we had like, I think maybe at 1.6 properties going on at the same time. And man, I would not have been able to manage that with these former contractors. So we're very blessed to have these turnkey.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty common thing with the contractors starting out really great. And you're like, oh, these guys are perfect. I don't have to find somebody else for a while because they're going to be great. And then it just starts declining on the quality and everything. It's almost like they see what they can get away with after the first couple. And then it's like, okay, well, I can just knock this out quick with lesser subs or something.
And you really, for those, you really have to be there like every day at the property. I mean, you really do or every other day, because the problem in the beginning with us was we were there maybe once a week to check up. Because I mean, this is Houston. The properties were very far away. You have traffic. And then we realized quickly that we have to be there every single day, if not every other day, to make sure it's going the way you want it to go. Otherwise,
that's an important thing to know. Yeah, people don't normally talk about how often they go check on jobs. And I think that's big because I think after working with a contractor for a while, like the turnkey people, you probably go maybe once a week or so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If that. People hear that, they go, well, I'll do that with every contractor. I only need to plan on being there once a week. But, at first you got to let them know that you're going to show up at different times too, because then it's like they know when you always show up.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll have everybody there hard at work at 8:30 because that's what time you always get there. Right. And so mixing that up too. Yeah, that's a big one. Let's talk a little bit about the marketing, Chris, because you said that you were handling the marketing. What were your ways of getting that machine to get these leads, consistent leads and deals going? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so at first it started with the only thing I knew. So back in 2005, foreclosures were hot. They were record and growing every year. So that's what I was taught when I took that class in 2005. So it was the only thing I knew. So that's what we started in 2011. And it worked out. Thankfully, the first month that we started, we got a house. And that was actually, to date, been our best deal when we turned around rental and eventually allowed us to go full time. But that was the only thing I knew. And the foreclosure market was much different in 2011, 2012 than it was in 2005. So even though we got that one deal, it was total blessing that we got that. But for the next 11 months, we didn't get anything. Mm-hmm. Not a single one. But we knocked
how many months 11. After that? 11?
Well, no. So we didn't get a deal from pre-foreclosures.
Oh, okay.
We did get other deals, but we had to learn how to market, which through networking, locally, talking with other investors, podcast, reading like your blog and some other online forums that we learned that, hey, you actually, that's how we kind of transitioned from being a house flipping business to this is actual a business. You got to market. We're marketing for customers, which in case our customers are home sellers. So we got to market for them like every other business. And then we have to have a process with that. We got a process with the sales process or acquisitions, and then the back end dispositions, and then everything in between. So it took about 11 months for us or actually it's about 6 months for us to really start figuring that out. And then eventually we stopped doing the pre-foreclosures. Our bang for our buck wasn't there when we could send out mailers, which we found out that, hey, that's what everyone else is doing. They're sending out these like
bandit signs.
Yeah, bandit signs, yellow letters, postcards, stuff like that. So that was our evolution to just being a flipping company to actually or like a mom and pop shop to actually starting to build the business.
Yeah, and one thing too that we learned is we weren't getting some deals because we weren't consistent with our marketing. I remember when we first started, I was like addressing the envelopes, printing them out. We were doing everything ourselves. That's kind of how you start. A lot of people start. In retrospect, I probably would have just went with a company to start, but we weren't consistent. So we did that 1 month, and then we were like, well, why aren't we getting any deals? And it's because you have to keep dropping them, like every 4.
Yeah, just consistently, month in, month out. So like a lot of people, we'd market, we get a deal. Mm-hmm. And then
we would stop and focus on that deal and stop marketing. So, because we were busy, managing the project, and then we're like, well, wait, okay, now we're done with this. Where's our deal? Where's our next deal? We're like, oh, we didn't market. You have to do both. And Chris is really good at systems. So he's a systems guy, which is great for our partnership. So he developed a system. So we were able to manage that, and send out marketing. I guess you get an alert.
Yeah, well, just setting up automations and being able to not only send it out regularly every 4 to 6 weeks, but also track the results of it.
Right.
So moving beyond just the old school Excel spreadsheets to more automated like CRMs and stuff like that to help us track it.
Yeah.
But what about the processes though? Because I think people hear people saying, well, we set up processes, but they don't know what that actually looked like. What does that look like when you first started setting up those processes to make sure that you were consistent? Were you creating Word documents that said, do this, do this, do this? What did those processes actually look like?
Yeah. So as far as, say, a letter, we'd have a letter. And if we're going to send out the same letter, you don't really have to change it at all other than the date at the top. But there's really no changes there. But if you're going to send out a series of letters, I mean, just go ahead and, I mean, you're already doing it. Just go ahead and copy and paste the document, make whatever other minor changes you're going to do, and then it's done. At that point, once it comes time to do so if you want to do it every 6 weeks and you have your calendar reminder or an alert come up 6 weeks, which actually you want it to remind you maybe a week prior to that, so it actually goes out on time, it comes out, then you don't have to do anything other than type in what your, like the actual number, upload the actual letter, and make the payment, and upload your list, make the payment, you're good to go. Or if you're going to do it the old school way, I don't recommend it, but I mean, you can print it out your house using mail merge, stuff like that. We found that the savings through mail merge was pennies per piece. It was very small. Unless you're mailing like less than 100, then it can be kind of expensive. But yeah, so just setting up those,
now, yeah.
Whatever you're doing on a routinely basis, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, just go ahead and automate it. Either create it once to where you can always go back and reference it, and you don't have to create it again. And if you're building a team and you want someone else to help you with that, create either a screenshot video on how to do it, create just a document, step 1, step 2, step 3 on how to do it. So that way, even if you're not ready to hire someone now, but whenever you do get to the point, it's already there. The instructions are already there.
That is one tip, yeah, because me being a former teacher, I'm really good at training, and I told Chris, why don't we make some training videos? And as you're doing these processes, so like you said, when we do hire somebody, and in this environment, it's very fast paced. Sometimes we onboard a new employee and we don't have time to really train them on something for these other, we're taking care of something else, and we're like, here, just watch this training video. It shows you how to do it. And then of course we'll go back and check with them. But so that's a good tip. Do training videos as you're making a document or pulling comps or something. Do a video.
Well, and I think the point that you made too, both of you made, was doing it before you needed it, right? You didn't hire somebody and then you were creating it.
Right.
You were sort of creating that process so that you wouldn't have to, the worst thing is waking up and saying, what should I do today? And not having that plan, right? Not having, what do we always do to stay consistent? And then having those processes, because if you don't do that, I think a lot of us, I don't know countless how many times Melissa and I would come across something we didn't normally deal with, but we had dealt with before, but we forgot best practices because we didn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do videos, and he's the video guy, and I do screenshots, like a manual of like Mojo, when I'm using Mojo or something like that. I have
and it doesn't take any time to do it because you're already doing it.
So it's literally as you're doing it. Because I'm just like that. I forget a process, and I'm like, how do you do that? And we don't like to ask each other, or Chris really never asks me. I think he knows how to do it all, but I don't want to bother him, so I just go and look at the videos. So
yeah, that's really good, because whenever you do get that, especially the mastermind or something, you hear something that you would adjust one of your processes for, right? You have your processes documented, you add that nugget in there. And then next time you come across it, you're always going to be using that instead of the one time and then forgetting about it, right? Not being consistent with how you handle everything.
Yeah, and we've since found some cool online tools that kind of automate the training process too.
Right.
And that's been helpful because not only can you put videos or documents in place, we can also add notes, and
you can monitor if
their progress.
And see if they're actually watching the videos, because that's part of he's talking about acquisitions. We have a sales process, and they watch videos and training videos. So
what are y'all using for the training?
We use Teachable.
Yeah, teachable.com. They actually have a free there's a paid edition too, but
the free version works for us.
Yeah, the free version really accomplishes everything we need.
It's really easy to use.
It's super easy. That's something new. We just found out about that a few months ago. Before it was just all in
honesty
in Dropbox. And it was like, hey, go to this folder and
read this.
Check them. But I mean, we had no accountability system.
Right, and I always again, being the teacher in me, I always have those guiding questions. So, hey, like those open-ended questions for our sales agents or whoever, and just to see if they actually watched it. And I said, we need to put that in the teachable, having like guided questions or something to see if they watch it. Because it's so valuable, this information, the training. So we just want to, and we pay for it. So we want to make sure they're utilizing it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's an awesome tip. So teachable.com, and you said they had a free one on there. The next thing is you guys went and doubled from 2017, 2018, the number of deals, right?
Yeah.
What were the numbers like?
The numbers, I think in
2015 was 11.
16 was 16 or 17.
I know, we should have wrote that down.
You do so many.
Rough idea is good. Just rough idea.
And then, so that's 2015, 11, 2016, maybe 15.
27?
No,
27.
15, then 27.
Yeah, 27 was 31.
And then, no, 2017 was 31.
Okay, yeah.
So we had like 1 year, our main point with this was like 1 year we had 27, and then the following year, last year, we had 31. And so we knew we had to do something different, because we, in 2017, we wanted to, I think the goal was 40 or something.
Yeah, we were doubling every year.
Yeah.
And during the 2017 year, this was the year we hired our first employee. And we had never hired anyone before. I'd been an employee. We both been employees. And so we knew how to be one. We didn't know how to be a manager or how to be a leader within a company to another employee. So that was actually very new to us. It was totally like open field. We had no idea what to do other than, and we didn't have an office. So
we were working out of our house.
It was a total blessing that we found this one lady. She's a recent grad, and she super sharp, confident during the interview. So it was like a no-brainer. She was hired. And then it was like, hey, we work out of our house. So she was coming to our house, and we had back-to-back desks.
Well, we offered her. At first, we were like, you can work from home. And she's like, because we don't have an office. She's like, well, I don't mind working from your house. That's fine. I'm like, you're sure? Because, I have a baby, and, she's like, no, I don't mind at all. So I'd rather work in an office, even if it's in your home, because I can be more productive. So we're like, okay.
Yeah.
But
and I'm sure that was a little weird for her at first. So we had our 1-year-old, and I remember him like blowing bubbles all like, we had a glass French door. So he's like over there. I'm like on a sales call, and he's like on the other end of the glass. And I
got baby gates after that. Yeah.
But so, yeah, in 2017, we were learning a lot. So we intended, to double in 2017, but we had
scaling.
We were scaling, but we were still learning some of the, everyone talks about scaling, but it's not necessarily as easy as you've done this. Now, if you do twice as much of this, you'll get twice as much results. Every time your business triples, the systems you have in place change. They have to change. They start to break down under the old way. So if you did 10 deals and you want to go to 30, you can't do the same thing you were doing at 10 deals. And so that was something that
we learned
in 2017. We're like, hey, we'll just shovel more money in marketing, more deals. And it was more deals, but there's more to it than that. We had to change our sales process. We had to change our lead intake process. We had to change how we were managing these projects. Like, that's when we figured out, hey, we can't go to all these things. We can't manage all of these contractors.
So my dad came in, yeah.
And then, how do you sell it? I'm an agent, but I can't list all these properties if I also want to go on the acquisition appointment.
Right. So you need a disposition.
Yeah, and it was late in that 2017 year we realized we weren't necessarily going to double that year. We did 31. We did nothing to complain about.
Right.
But there were still some tweaks we had to figure out, and that's where we've learned those in the 2018 year, and it's been.
And we joined the mastermind too, and that really helped us too.
It's learning from other successful people that we knew over time. Could we figure it out?
Yeah.
Yes. But it was going to take time, which time is money. So we just opted for the option of networking with very successful investors to figure out the couple little tweaks that we needed. And our biggest problems at that time were learning how to hire and how to manage, and then also how to tweak our acquisition process from just me. I know what to do, but how do I tweak it in a way to have someone else do it better than me? So those are the problems, and we've done that. We've been successful. It's now that success has created new problems.
Right.
Yes.
So you're always dealing with problems in business.
No, and every year I'm like, what? Come on! I thought we were supposed to be like big ballers by now. What is going on? You know, but
if you don't want problems, don't go into business,
Right.
Especially flipping.
I mean, I thought, like, where's my Cadillac? I mean, where's my fancy car and everything?
Well, that's
it takes time. I mean,
yeah.
you know,
When every level of growth requires challenge, right? And that challenge is caused by those new problems because you got to the next level. So
right.
And it's stressful, but I embrace it because another investor, I was listening to his podcast, and he made the point, I'm kind of paraphrasing, is you want to try to grow and be the person you need to be to achieve the success you're trying to reach. So it's not necessarily about the goal, reaching the goal. It's how do you become the better person that's going to take to get that? Because that's really the big value, is becoming that person, becoming that leader, becoming that entrepreneur, that manager, that sales guy, or whatever it is for you. But how do you become that person? Because once you become the person, you can do anything.
right.
But I mean, that's the big prize. So I took that to heart, and that's why I seek out other things. I'm not good at this. What do I need to do? How can I get better at this? And just humbling yourself to realizing that I don't know everything. There are obviously problems that, and it's not new to business. It's not new. You look at the most successful people in the world; they all have problems,
Right.
and they all got business challenges. And sometimes it's frontline news, sometimes it's not. But you just gotta, that they're going through, maybe on a much bigger scale for some of these guys. They're going through their own challenges. We are too at our level.
Yeah.
And we're just always trying to grow. And
Right. But to kind of like parry off of that, you need to also, whenever those times come where there's just so much to do and you really need to kind of divide and conquer. So if you have a business partner, like his strengths, like he said, with acquisitions and training sales, my strength is HR. I love hiring. I love finding the right person for the right spot, interviewing and things like that. And that's why we're been so successful, I mean, this year, because of our hiring and our training. I feel like because it's so important, and take your time when you're hiring. Like I remember earlier this year, I think in August, I mean, I felt kind of rushed to hire, and it ended up being completely the wrong fit. And we learned that. So take your time when you hire. And also just know your strengths and use them in those times where, okay, you have all this on your plate, but you have to also have a great business partner. So divide and conquer. And that's also helped our success.
Yeah, those are great tips. And it's hard to always remember to be working on hiring before you need it, right? Before you need that person, you start looking for people.
Like just like your marketing,
Just
like your marketing for deals, you have to market for talent. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for good talent, both actual skill set and culture and drive to bring into your company and do something better than you. So yeah, you constantly have to be on the lookout for that talent and not wait until you need it.
Right.
And then once you get them on board, you gotta keep them, keep them happy through communication. That's not my skill set. That's totally her.
You need that pat on the back.
Yeah, I'm an introvert by nature. It's just I'm more of well, I mean, whatever. I'll just say it.
Get it done.
I mean, the job, just do it. I mean, I don't necessarily need words of affirmation and things like that. I'm going to do it because I know I need to. But not everyone works that way, and it's realizing that. So that's not my strength. And this is again trying to become that person that you need to be to get to your level. So I feel like I've grown a long way. I am nowhere near where Jamie is just naturally, but I've grown, and I've still got room to grow. But Jamie has helped build that part out as far as
your
communication,
culture,
building the culture.
just events that you have together as a team, because we're big on teamwork. I don't even really call them our employees. I like to say team members. That might sound cheesy, but I mean, we're more coaches. Chris and I like that kind of mentality than like big bosses. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this. So let's just, we always say, what can we do to be successful? We're also very transparent with everybody on the team, like down to numbers, and what we're making and what we need to make and things like that. So
has there been any sort of, course or training or book that you guys have used to learn how to be better leaders, or anything that stands out that you would recommend to anybody listening?
I read this a long time ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's one of the classics. So if you're in any sales position, but quite frankly, I think anyone just in life can get a lot out of that. So that's one book that I feel has been very, very helpful, because I still remember a lot of the things. And I had a sales position and when I read it, so I was able to apply it pretty instantly. And then a podcast.
Oh yeah. Podcast.
There's another podcast. I don't know, I can mention if you want.
Sure.
But it's Manager Tools, and that was recommended by another investor. And that one is purely on how to be an effective communicator, a good manager. So we've learned a lot of like one-on-ones, having actual sit-down meetings that you can talk about anything with your team members. And
I feel like through me, just with my past, I've learned through experiences, because I was, a team leader when I taught. Like, I led the whole team, and I had to take leadership classes at Texas A&M and things like that for my role as a teacher and what I thought I was going to become administrator. So, and like currently I just lead various things like at church and things like that. So you really have to be able to just know people, understand people, and understand like their needs. And believe it or not, I mean, Chris might be the only one that doesn't need a pat on the back, but most of our employees, they need like incentives and a pat on their backs to see, just encouragement.
And that's a good point, because people, it's understanding that people are different, right? And that's a good representation of that. Chris feels like he doesn't need it, and that there are people that need it. And just knowing that's what it boils down to at the end of the day, right? Is like what really fires people up on your team. Everybody's going to be different, and not having one size fits all sort of thing that's going to make everybody happy.
Right.
And being that leader. I'm in the same process as you guys. I mean, as far as, like my main goal right now is just being a better leader, and I just had somebody on the podcast last week, Greg, be sure to go and listen to that one too, because when I was asking him how he was able to, I think he did 12 businesses where he, built them up and sold them, and, how he had the time to do that. And he said, well, my job is to be a leader, motivator, delegator.
There you go.
And that's like his job. It wasn't to be busy doing things. That was his job. And that was really big. But I think that's where a lot of the top level investors like you guys are focused, right? And it shows like you've got to that point where that is the priority now. Right. And you guys are focused on it. It's awesome. And you guys have been able to do that many deals, required a good amount of money. And so you raised all that private money. Can you share real quick the process you took to try to get that much private money available to be able to do that many deals?
Yeah, it's been a myriad of ways how we have.
Yeah, I was aware that you could raise private money from back in 2005 when I took that guru course, and he actually showed me how he did it. So I was aware of that. But when we got started together, we just went with a local hard money company, and I still think that has a lot of value, because usually hard money companies are, I kind of jokingly say that they're not going to lend you money on a property that they won't be happy taking it back if you screw it up. So they're kind of like a second set of eyes in a way. So we went with one that's super reputable in the Houston area. But of course, as you scale, you start to realize that there are other investors out there that you might be able to get a better rate, but they also they want to get a good return on their money.
Right.
So
my way was building credibility.
Mhm.
I think that's where you're going.
Yeah. So private lenders, what they care about is you. You're the number one. Because it's not just to get a good rate of return on their money. They want to get their money back.
Right.
So you're the number one focus on their mind is, do they trust you?
We're trustworthy, right?
Yeah. So I think one, being able to speak in confidence and just be a overall trustworthy, honest person.
Yes.
That's going to go a long way. And then other than that, we're just organized. So that's my talent, organization, especially spreadsheets and stuff. It's part of my, I was the disc profile. I'm a higher C. So I was able to show, we had our business plan. And I probably spent too much time on it. I don't think it was all necessary, but essentially it outlined what we do.
Yeah. It's an executive summary or executive summary.
Well, yeah. And then the executive summary with the details about a particular property that we're looking to get money on. And then we'd have a list of all the deals we did. But one of the number one things that I always do when I'm talking with a prospective private lender is I never ask them for money.
Right.
So we tell them what we do, and then, oh, hey, by the way, I actually don't have any deals. Everything I have right now is already funded. I don't have any deals right now. But when I do, if it's something that you're looking to do, when I have another one, I'll just sort of shoot it over to you. If it makes sense to you, I'll answer any other questions, and if it doesn't, then we can talk about the next one.
Man, that's huge. That is big, because it doesn't become how much money can I get from you, and then they're like thinking about what they want to do, but it's more of, oh wow, you got a good thing going and you don't even need my money.
Right.
Because it's when you don't need the money that everybody wants to give it to you, but when you need it, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
How come he needs this?
I think the most important thing was building that credibility, because not only whenever we find this prospective private lender, I also there's creative marketing, like on Facebook, I'll market, like I put a picture of me with, $11.2 million raised. And also, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, we started a RIA event, and that helps you build credibility for your company, and also that, you feel like these people, they're doing deals, and that's how we've found some private lenders through that as well. A lot of them.
You're kind of like a local, you're basically a local expert,
right?
And if there already are RIA events in your area, then just maybe network with them and maybe speak on a particular topic.
Right.
So for us, we when we started it, we were successful.
We did 11 deals. That's it.
Yeah, we weren't big balling or anything, but so we were like, how do we talk about these things? We don't really know what we're doing. So we
brought in people who knew what they were doing.
Yeah. We just created the environment.
Right. We created a learning environment. Our RIA, we don't like to pitch things at people, because we went to a lot of those that are really trying to sell you one thing, and the main speakers are the ones who are running the RIA. And so we always bring in different speakers from the whole different realm of.
How much work was that, setting that up, and how many people did you guys have in attendance? Was it something that built up over time?
Yes.
Was it a lot of work?
No, I remember, and luckily I kind of did it for a selfish reason, because I couldn't, I was at home with the kids, so I couldn't always go out and go across town to some of these networking events. So this one, I actually just called, the barbecue place right down the street from our house, and I said, hey, can we, rent out the room the first Tuesday of every month? And they said yes, and there was no other RIAs there, and it was just opportunity. And in the beginning, we started, probably there was 20 people maybe. And then, you start off, it's how you market yourself. We used meetup.com, and that's how people can find different meetups. And it grew. Now it's about 100, because it's really a barbecue place. So it's just a little room. And we want it to stay kind of at 100, just so, because it's more of a learning environment, and then you network after type of thing. So it's more structured. But yeah, it's grown, and
that's awesome.
Partnered on a deal and made big profit from that. And we've had private lenders, and And then we built like our reputation. Just a lot of people in our market know us now because of that. And like I said, credibility. It's so important. It's so important among other investors that you network with, because it's a very small community. So you don't want a bad name, and just like credibility is important with sellers. So you want to build that credibility as a business.
We actually got a seller. We actually got a seller from the RIA.
Wow.
So it was weird. We did a Facebook Live. It's one of the, I don't even know why we did Facebook Live before this one, but we did. And the topic was hard money lending or private lending. So we did it. We weren't the speakers. We had someone else speaking. And this lady called me the very next day and said, "Hey, I watched your event." She was a former realtor, just bad situation, unfortunately, lost her job, medical. And she was like, "I've got to sell this house, otherwise it's going to get foreclosed on." And she was like, "I watched your RIA. Y'all seem like trustworthy people, just like the credibility." It was like bizarre. We didn't expect. We expected maybe to get more wholesale deals. We didn't expect to get a seller that watched our RIA. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah. ROI on that was great.
yeah, it's really good.
No, that's really cool. And I'm glad that you guys broke that down a little bit, because when people say RIA events, I'm thinking, oh man, that sounds like a lot of work. You've got to get this, place at a hotel or something, and you got to provide this and that and the other thing. But then you say, well, you just call up the barbecue joint and ask to use that back room. I mean,
and then you get sponsors. That's a big thing too. You have to find sponsors or vendors, which we were already networking by them. So Chris knew a lot of people and they trusted us, and
sponsors want to participate.
Right.
I mean, they're selling things. I mean, these are people, insurance, hard money companies, title.
Right.
They want to be a part of the community, because I mean, you're helping them get their word out, gets them more business. And of course they help pay for the food. So it works out.
Nice. Yeah, it's an incredible story you guys have, and you've done so much since you've started and gone full time and working together and just constantly growing. And it's very inspiring, and you guys should be very proud of yourselves for what you've accomplished, and then coming on here and sharing with everybody. So thank you.
Absolutely. Would appreciate you. Like your blog back in the day, it was very inspirational, because we were trying to figure things out, trying to figure out how to scale, and so I said you're kind of part of the story, and we're happy to be on the podcast today.
Yes.
Thanks. Did you guys read the 34 weeks? Was that the part that you got into on the blog, was reading about the 34 weeks of everything?
Yeah. So that was when we were trying to figure out marketing. And so we were seeing what were you doing? I mean, you're in a market near our town, and I was familiar with San Antonio. I haven't started there, so
you started there, right?
Yeah. So that was it was just very interesting to read that. And I was like, hey, well, he's doing this. He's actually getting deals every week or whatever. So let's just do that too, and it should work out.
Yeah. Good fingers.
Awesome. I made those post a book now that's actually a print book. So on Amazon, Flipping Houses Exposed, you can actually, get it and read it. And we had it professionally edited too. So like all the misspellings have been corrected. And
do you still have your witty jokes in there?
Yeah.
I did see that you did that, because you mentioned you have some of the backstories or some additional stories or follow-ups on some of them. It's been
so that, and it was cool to go back and read that. So even anybody out there listening, or you guys, to document some of the things that happen in your business, because it'll be fun to go back and I'm sure you got stories of crazy houses and crazy people and different.
Yes, we do.
Awesome. Well, if anybody out there is listening, wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Either our website, Chris and Jamie Buy Houses, or TexasIdealProperties.com, either one of those, or Facebook. Facebook's probably the best way. Texas Ideal Properties. And our RIA event in Houston is Fort Bend Real Estate Investors.
We have a Facebook page for that one too.
So yeah, reach out. We're always happy to network with other investors or
awesome.
Successful.
Okay, so you said Fort Bend Real Estate Investors is the name of the Facebook.
Yep.
Awesome.
And
great.
Then like us on Facebook at Texas Ideal Properties.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're listening and you're going on Facebook anyway, just help them out for sharing all the stuff that they've shared in this episode. It's been great. Keep in touch.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, have a good one.
You
Bye.
too.